It's time for the Power Hour with Jimmy Conrad.
Yeah. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Power Hour. I am Jimmy Conrad. I'm wearing my Mandalorian shirt so I can give a shout out to Baby Yoda. I don't know if you guys have enjoyed this or The Mandalorian or not, but for me, it is a very, very good show and hopefully a sign of things to come because I haven't been the biggest fan of the movies. Different conversation. We're here to talk about the beautiful game and in particular, one of my favorite teammates, one of the best players that the U.S. has ever produced. I'm going to get him on right now, okay? So while I do that, this is what's going to happen. Just to get you guys fired up, this is what's going to happen while I get you guys fired up. We're going to roll the clip, okay? We're going to roll the clip because that's what has to be done. Roll the clip, everybody. Roll the clip.
Again, as Bruce alluded to before, I think Conrad Bocanegra is definitely a guy that has to be a major target on this play.
Number 4 for the United States. Lennon sends it in, the header, and it's into the back of the net. The United States strikes, and it's Jimmy Conrad. Jimmy Conrad finds the net. 1-0 USA. Jimmy Conrad, a late bloomer. He'll be 30 next Monday. A big goal in his career.
Well, I mean, you have such a game, a defensive game, the kind that he's had already tonight.
Here we go. All right, everybody, we got to roll the clip. You got to see it firsthand. 2 of my favorite actions, maybe my best actions in my whole entire career. But now, I'm happy to be joined by a man who dominated at the U17 World Cup. Then he did it again at the Olympics. He's been in 4 World Cups. I've only been in 1. I'm not jealous by any stretch of the imagination. He's played in the Premier League. He's played in Holland, the Bundesliga, Scotland, Mexico, the U.S. I'm happy to be joined by DaMarcus Beasley. Here he is, everyone. Take a look at him, and I'm going to have to resize your stuff. DaMarcus, what's up? How are you?
What's up, man? How you doing, Doc?
That's good. It's good to see you. So as I fix your screen here a little bit because you're kind of small on the screen, I have a question because you have this illustrious career, okay? Mm-hmm. And then you start doing a podcast. Like you're doing what I'm doing.
Hey, I'm trying.
You should be doing more than that.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know if this podcast thing is for me, but I'm enjoying it so far. I like it.
Well, so I wanted to bring it up. It's called The Crack Podcast. You're doing it with Mookie from Football or Clothing. He feels like he's the host, and then you got Oguchi Onyewu, another one of my teammates. And you had you're 2 episodes in. How are you feeling about it after 2 episodes?
Man, good, man. We actually have more episodes that we've taped. So, we got some stuff coming out. But, for me, it's fun. I think, and I said this in the first episode. I was never a person that was very outspoken. I was outgoing, yes, but outspoken, you know what I'm saying? Like, to media and kind of wanted to, share my story and all that stuff. So for me, I'm stepping out of, my comfort zone and just being me, you know what I'm saying? Just being me, giving people a glimpse of how I am, usually, just, being myself. So I think, and right now, so far, so good, man. It's been fun. And obviously with my boys, it's been comfortable. It's been funny, hopefully something that people want to listen to.
No, for sure. I really enjoyed, especially the last one, which was a special edition talking about being black in America in particular, given everything that's going on.
Right.
One of my questions for you, and I was going to maybe wait till later, but I think it's a nice segue to talk about it now. I tried to look back on my career and reflect on my path. So I walked on in high school, I didn't get recruited out of high school. I walked on in college. I didn't get drafted into MLS. I didn't get my first cap of the national team until I was 28. So I was very like a little engine that could, late bloomer.
Yeah, right.
But I thought, how would that be different if I had been black? What would I have had to do? I feel like I would have had to walk on eggshells in a lot of different ways to maybe even get those opportunities that I did end up getting and trying to take advantage of. And so I kind of wanted to know for you, since you've played all over the world, do you feel like you had to approach these situations when you were trialing or just starting out with a new team to act a certain way because you didn't want to offend anybody because of the color of your skin?
Yeah, for sure. And it didn't happen all the time. Obviously some people aren't, prejudiced, and they don't see color. They just see the man of who you are, or the kid of, what you're trying to become, and try to help you out in those ways. But 100%, I agree with that. And, and it goes a little bit even outside of soccer, because as a young black kid growing up, my dad's from Savannah. Like people, obviously people don't know, my story and my family history. My dad's from the South, so he grew up in, a world where, there was, color signs on, color's not allowed, so he grew up in that area, and he knew what, basically how to talk to his boys, myself and Jamar, about, growing up black. You know what I'm saying? We had those conversations, and you had to act a certain way. He would say, make sure you don't have anyone in your car that you don't know. Make sure, you don't wear your hat backwards if you wear a hat. Make sure your hair is always cut. Make sure, you look presentable whenever you're, around people, you're outside or doing whatever. Those things, you get taught, as a kid, growing up black in this country. And, I know it's not about, soccer, but it kind of, pertains to that as well, because, so yeah, when I was growing up, I tried to keep my shirt tucked in. I tried to make sure my socks were right. I tried to, do all the right things that I had to do, more than just, being a soccer player on the field. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what my parents, taught me. I can't speak for every black person. I'm just speaking, on my experiences. So yeah, 100%. And we had to, be taught how to do this, how to act, how to, present yourself. So, you get a second look, or you get, looked at it, not just because of your skin, but obviously of your abilities on the soccer field.
Well, I appreciate that insight. And I didn't know that your dad had grown up in Savannah. So
yeah,
that's intense. And I now have about 1,000 questions I want to talk to your dad about, because I just feel like it's heartbreaking in so many different ways that maybe he got limited in his potential and what he was capable of because of some bullshit rules, Frank. Pardon my French. So,
no, all good. Yeah.
So we have a photo up right now of you as a kid, with your Fort Wayne soccer club little shirt. I mean, you're not to say you're not cute now, DaMarcus, but you're adorable.
People say I still look the same.
I mean, in some ways, yeah. I mean, if you had a little beard going on at that age, we could probably say that. So your parents clearly moved you a different part of the country, but maybe there was still, I assume there was probably still some racism there. Did you feel it even at this age playing?
I didn't, because I didn't, obviously my parents aren't racist, so I never got taught color. I didn't know if someone was being, I wouldn't know if someone was being racist towards me. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't know. I just played soccer. I had fun. Obviously at that age, I was the only black kid, but I just thought it was normal. Mm-hmm. I just thought, obviously, soccer wasn't as big, back in, the 80s, 87, 88, or whatever it was when I was at that
Don't tell anybody how old we are, dude.
Yeah, I know, right? You know what I'm saying? So I never looked at it that way, I just remember, I think until I left, Fort Wayne to go to Bradenton, I think, and, obviously I, played at all the levels, through my club teams in Fort Wayne. I think in all teams, I probably had 3 black teammates. And in the whole, from U10 all the way to my U14 age, or younger than that, sorry, my U18,
looks like you froze a little bit, DaMarcus. Wait, is he calling back? Hold on one sec. There he is. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, cool. Yeah. Sorry about that. Keep going.
No, yeah. So, but basically that's all I was saying. I only had, 3 black teammates throughout that whole process of my whole soccer career in Fort Wayne. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't really see color back then.
So what happens then when you do go to the residency academy, and maybe you're probably open to a whole new world at that point, and especially as a young man, as you're trying to not only prove yourself on the field, but also learning about who you are as a person off the field.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, when I got down there, I met, my friends to this day, Gooch, Nelson Aquari, those guys that were there and went through that whole process, we all went through that whole process together, and it was great to see it, to finally kind of be with someone that looked like you and knew, how hard it took to get there, and joke to be able to joke a certain way and to get the jokes that we're kind of used to, so it was always, that part was great to grow up with those guys. I mean, that was my childhood. My childhood was with those guys. We were all roommates, when we went in the residency program, everyone had, roommates in groups. And, Gooch and Nelly, those guys were, my roommates. So it was cool doing that experience with them.
Okay, now let's talk about after that, because you get drafted by the Chicago Fire, actually the Galaxy. Then they traded you to the Chicago Fire.
Yeah, man, I got allocated to the Galaxy. So just imagine, I was 7. I just had turned 17. So I signed at 16. Just turned 17. I went because I was obviously out of school that summer. So I went to LA, to meet the teammates, and that's when, it was Cienfuegos and Kobe Jones and, Robin Frazier, Greg Vandy, that group.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I went there, trained with them for a couple weeks. And then, obviously I thought, everything went well, whatever. And then I got back to Indiana, and then obviously their season was still going on, because this was in the summer. So the season was still going on. And I got a call and said, hey, we're trading you to Chicago. And I'm like, wait, huh? I'm like, I didn't even get a chance to, do anything. You know what I'm saying? So at 17 years old, I'm already getting traded, and I haven't played 1 minute.
I mean, arguably maybe the biggest mistake in Galaxy history, if we're being honest with ourselves, right? They missed out on a generational talent in you.
Yeah, man. And but yeah, I always think, find that funny that I didn't even get a chance to even play, and they already cut me. They was like, yeah, nah, we saw you couple weeks there, we're good. Nah, we'll pass. I'm like, damn, already? Goodness gracious.
So how did you handle that mentally? Because I feel like when we break down players, it's always the physical ability, the technical ability, tactical ability. But I think you and I can both attest to the fact that it's really what's between the ears that's going to determine whether you're successful or not.
Yeah, 100%, man. And until that, and with that day, and I even go back a little bit further, because I had, my brother's older, and we played the same, we played the same sport. My brother was a professional as well, and so I always had that kind of chip on my shoulder as far as, competing, trying to, beat my brother, because he was a man back then. He was a man. He was the number one athlete in our hometown and in almost pretty much the state, because he played basketball, he played football, and he played soccer, and he was good at all three, So me looking up to him and always trying to compete and always trying to, beat him when we played one-on-one, or, when I would train with their team, go up to their group, sometimes I make a bad pass. He would yell at me, and, we would fight and this and that, but but I didn't back down, what I'm saying? But I didn't back down as a kid. So I always had that, within myself, at a young age. So then when that happened, when I got, let go by LA, I made it a point for myself to, whenever I played LA, it was on and pop.
I love that.
Seriously, if you look at, back then, some of the stats with when I played with the Fire and we played LA, I'm talking about goals, assists. Those are some of my best games was against LA, because I just had that extra, like, okay, this is what, what I'm saying? You cut me, okay, well, this is what you missed out on. So every single time I played LA, I literally wanted to kill him. I mean, I was scoring goals. I was, playing the best soccer of my life that day. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hated LA Galaxy just for that. They didn't even give me a chance to, play. So, yeah, I always had that mentality that, to never give up, to always compete, to always, show, what someone else is missing out on.
Well, fun fact for you, I played with your brother Jamar at Kansas City in 2010. He's awesome, by the way. Can you tell him I said hi? That's one. And second, what is he doing now?
Will. He's chilling.
He's chilling. If you go to his Wikipedia page, he's played for about 37,000 teams, and so I just didn't know if he was still playing or not.
Yeah, he might still be playing. No, I'm kidding. But no, he retired. Maybe it's been, I don't know, 4 years now. Yeah. And but yeah, he's doing good. He's just at home in Fort Wayne. He has a son, my nephew. So he's starting to get into coaching.
That's great.
Like
he should
with my school and it's that, because kids love him, man. Like when he's around with our soccer camps in our school, man, kids love him. The parents love him, and he's really, really good with kids. So I can definitely see him on the youth side doing those things. But yeah, that's what he's trying to get into now.
Okay, well, on the heels of that, I know that you are looking to invest in the USL League One, which I think is really, really cool because it gives you the opportunity to provide opportunities for players that might not get them otherwise. Is that going to be like an extension of your soccer school in some ways, where you have a little bit of an academy? At the top of that academy, it would be the League One team, and is Jamar going to be the head coach? Has he already put pressure on you to be the head coach?
He hasn't put pressure on, but I don't think I want him as my coach, because then I'm gonna have to fire him if he doesn't win games. If he don't win games, I gotta fire my brother. I love that. I couldn't do it. But yeah, man, it's great. USL reached out to me through Tim Howard. He connected the dots and that whole aspect. And yeah, man, what they're doing and what they're trying to do with obviously smaller markets and trying to grow the game, give like you just said, more opportunities to play professional soccer, to really grow this country and to really make soccer his number one sport. Because at the end of the day, me and you, Jimmy, we played in World Cups. You know what I'm saying? And our goal, and I hope in my lifetime, I want to see us win one.
Me too.
You know what I'm saying? So that's for me is the ultimate goal. And so these, the things that USL is doing, the academy that with MLS, these things that are they're putting into place, is only going to help that, I think. So USL is just another way for kids, young kids, to have an opportunity to grow, to develop, but in a professional environment, really see what it takes to be a professional, and to live and to breathe, to eat, to sleep, soccer, and I think that's important, and kids, especially and I'm just speaking from my hometown. What I'm saying? They don't have to go to Chicago. They don't have to go to, Indianapolis, or they don't need to go to LA or, New York, to get an opportunity to play professional soccer. It's right there in the backyard. They're doing, obviously USL is doing that with a lot of, different markets, around the United States. And I think it's great, man. More soccer, but at a good level, what I'm saying? Not just, picking up players that can't compete and can't, at that level. Right. Good players, making sure, good coaching and that part. So I think it's all good. It's all positive, man.
All right, now let's talk about then your career. You as you said, you went from the Galaxy to Chicago Fire. You parlayed that, or at least during your time. You played in the Olympics in 2000, and then
I didn't.
You didn't play in the Olympics?
I didn't. No, man. I got. Listen to this.
Wait, no, I got to hear the story. I thut for sure that. I mean, after the
I went through
U17 World Cup, I thought you were the guy.
Yeah, man. I went through qualifying with the team, and Landon went. We were both 17 at the time. I think.
Yeah, right. I just assumed. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I didn't go. So I went through qualifying. Started.
Whoa. Who was the coach?
Clive.
Okay.
And Clive Charles and John Ellinger was the assistant.
Okay,
and, and I thought,
that's unacceptable on a lot of different levels. But go ahead.
I love Clive. I love him as a coach, as a man. He was a great guy and a great person for me.
For sure.
But yeah, man. They didn't take me, so I went through qualifying. Started, I think 2 out of the 3 games that we played. And I thought I was going, and then I get a call and say, hey. Because at the time, that's what it was. At the time, Joey, you remember his name, Joey DiGiamarino?
Dude, he grew up in my area. Yeah, Joey D.
Okay,
Joey
there
D.
You go.
Yeah.
Joey D. Yeah. So he was kind of injured. He was like, kind of back and forth.
Right.
He has some injury problems, and they didn't know if he was going to be fit. So he didn't really play like the qualifying and even some of the lead up game before the Olympics, and so right before that he got fit. And that was kind of who I was going against. It was either me or him.
Right.
And obviously, they decided to, take him because, I guess they trusted him more. He was older, and that was it, man. So I got the call, and I was an alternate. So I got shafted on that one. So yeah, I never went to an Olympics.
Interesting.
Never went to. Yeah. So in the year that we were in my year, it was obviously with our U17s, U20s, and we went up to U23s. We got smacked by Mexico in the semifinal, 4-0. So I've never been to Olympics, man.
Wow. That's a fun fact. I didn't know that about you. I just,
Yeah,
based
man,
on everything you accomplished in your career, I just naturally assumed that you were, especially at that youth level, you were on kind of the same track that Landon was on because of the U17s. And then obviously you did well. However, you got the last laugh. Joey D fell out after the 2000 Olympics, and you played in 4 World Cups, including the 2002 one. I'm now showing the picture of this, let's say, sexy photo shoot that you did.
Oh man, I can never live this picture down. I'm telling you. Never.
Actually, it's okay. I mean, I saw the whole article, and you're like, I actually did okay compared to everybody else.
Yeah, compared to everybody else, mine is actually decent.
It's decent.
You know what I'm saying? Like I can show that picture, you know, in 50 years and still be okay with it. You know what I'm saying? But other ones, you know what I'm saying? You know, B-Max,
Landon.
Pablo, oh my God, Landon's, man, Clint's, them are funny. I mean, and the most normal one was Casey's. Casey was just, you know, the old guy with the ball, shorts and a t-shirt, you know, kind of laying down. That was boring. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, the other ones, yeah, man. But I'll never let that photo down. Everywhere I go, somebody's got a comment about that photo.
Yeah, it's unreal, and in some ways, it was a good thing at the time because U.S. soccer wasn't getting a lot of coverage, but.
Right.
You know,
but
now looking back, like, what were we doing? How did Michael Cameraman or whoever let that happen? You know,
I have no idea. I don't know how. I can't remember back then, like, who thought this was a good idea.
Yeah.
Who put us in those poses? Like, did we? I can't remember. I don't think we actually looked at the pictures before they came out in the New York Times. I don't think we did.
Nobody. Yeah, they must have just posted them without approval, right?
100%. And fun fact, you can't tell, but I had on pink pants.
Whoa! I'm going back. Hold on. Wait a second. You can't tell. You're right. You can't.
Yeah, no, but if you
you can zoom. Like, you can see it in the corner.
The corner, yeah.
You can.
Pink. And they were. What's that fabric?
Like neoprene, like spandex.
No, spandex. It was like a cloth kind of. What is that called?
Oh man. I bet you. I assume your junk was on full display.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. And they were tight. And I remember. I think I remember telling them that I don't want the pink pants in the picture. I think something like that. No, they're like velour, like that kind of
velour.
Yeah. Velour pink pants, man. That's what I had on.
I didn't even know people made those. That's amazing. Okay, so obviously the 2002 World Cup was amazing. And you parlay that move. There's so much for me I want to talk to you about, but I'm just going to kind of keep this thing going because I want to value your time here. You went to PSV. You left to go over to play in Europe. Yeah, how was that experience playing in Holland and making the jump from MLS to Europe? And then secondly, did you face any, let's say, backlash because of the color of your skin? Because I don't want that to be lost in the conversation. I know we're good friends, so we just want to like naturally joke, but I also want to continue to keep this going because I think it's really important for people that might not understand and appreciate the type of pressure that you were under for something as arbitrary, really, as the color of your skin, which it really shouldn't matter.
Yeah. I made a jump in 04 in the summer, and I felt I was ready. You know what I'm saying? I felt I couldn't improve more. And with the fire, because I knew I was going to play, I knew I was going to start, as players, you want to compete, you want to have, you want to keep that edge, and that's how I was, what I'm saying? That's how I was. I always wanted to, be the best I could be, and right. I always, and to do that for me personally, I needed to challenge myself. So that's what I did. I went to PSV. And, it was great, man. Obviously, in the beginning, because I went by myself. So in the beginning, it was tough, living by myself in a new country, what I'm saying, not having any family, really nothing, no friends, nothing, So that part was difficult in the beginning. But the thing that saved me was soccer, I was playing, I was starting, playing well. The team we had a crazy team, the team was great. I think my first year, we only lost, I think, 3 games throughout every competition. It was like 3 or 4 from Champions League to Cup and in the league. So our team was amazing. So I think that kind of helped smooth the transition from me going, basically being somewhat of a bigger fish in a small pond to a small fish to a big pond.
Right.
And me kind of stating my claim as to why they wanted to buy me. So I think that part was good.
Now, because I have to ask, and I never had the opportunity myself, what was it like playing in the Champions League? Because that just feels like a super special competition.
Yeah, man, it was great. It was, for me, that's probably like the only thing I miss about European football. Obviously, yeah, you miss games and winning a championship. Okay, yeah, that's cool. But for me, I'm saying the one thing that I met, I just try to slide that in if you saw it.
I love it.
For me, it's Champions League, man. You know what I'm saying? Like those games were special. Just from the travel, the preparation. You know what I'm saying? The amount of concentration it took to play those games, knowing that, any small mistake, these teams are good. They're gonna capitalize, and you're gonna get beat. You know what I'm saying? It's the best, competition, I think, in soccer. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
So for me, those are special. Hearing the music under the lights, even obviously, scoring, but winning games, playing, going to these different stadiums and playing against, the teams that I played against. Those are the things that I really miss about Europe. Everything else is kind of like, it's cool, it's whatever, but yeah, Champions League is very high up on my list, man. Champions League is the top of the top, and
yeah.
You get the best out of the players, because they know that championship means everything to them. Every team wants to win it. And you're gonna get their best, because you got a plethora of different
styles,
players from every
cultures,
styles, everything,
yeah,
culture.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's great. So that part I miss for sure.
You had a couple good managers at PSV. John Hudson in the comments says you had Hiddink and Koeman as your managers.
Yeah.
What was it about, like, absorbing information from them and maybe getting a different philosophy than what you grew up with in the States?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. Koeman, he basically let me go.
Well, then I don't like Koeman anymore. Let me just say that.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, before I get with Hiddink, yeah, we had a conversation after the second season. So I was going in my third year, and my second season I was kind of I was in and out of the lineup, a lot to do with injuries and, out of favor, and, just sometimes not playing well, whatever, So I didn't play as good as I did my first season. And I remember sitting down, he brings me to his office, and he says, the first thing he asked me, he said, how many goals did you score last year? And I said, I remember this conversation. I said, I think I said 6. He's like, what position do you play? And he obviously he knows what position you play. He's like, what position do you play? And I said, I play winger. And he's like, for me, it's too little. You need to score more. He said, and for this reason, if you want to leave in the summer, you can go.
Wow.
Just like that. There wasn't no like, hey, you had a bad season, or you didn't score as many goals you did the first year. So, let's try to, have a better season, or concentrate more, or what you can do to work on. No, he's like, hey, if you want to go, he's like, you can stay. I'd love to have you, but you're not my first choice.
Wow.
You're not going to be my first choice. So, but at the same time, I respected that.
Yeah, right.
I did. I respected that, because he was honest. A lot of coaches and general managers and they are honest with players. You know what I'm saying? They kind of beat around the bush, and they say this and not really what, I'm saying, is the truth. So for me, obviously I didn't like his decision, but I respect him because he told me exactly what he thought, the truth. And then that's why I went to Man City. But for me, Hiddink was great, man. But the thing with his swagger, he knew who he was. You know what I'm saying? Like, he knew the team he was coaching. He knew who he was as a coach. So like he would literally sometimes go in and go through the team that we're playing and be like, like from right back, center backs, and because back then we didn't really do that much video before games. He would just tell a little bit about each player, and that was it.
Right.
And he would be like, okay, right back, he's kind of fast. He goes up and down. He's not strong on his right foot, and then he'll go to center back. But then after that, sometimes he'll stop, like, you know what? It doesn't even matter. We should win this game 3 or 4-0. So go out there and win the game. And that was it. That was literally it. That was his coaching philosophy. I don't know if he did that through, and when he coached Korea and Holland.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But with us, with PSV, because, we were the big club in Holland, but that's what he would do. He would literally go through like 2 or 3 players and be like, you know what, doesn't matter. In my day, we would win this game 3 or 4-0. So go out and win the game 3 or 4-0.
It's funny. Sometimes I feel like sometimes managers get too much credit for their team's success. Yeah, exactly. But maybe he's smart enough to know that he just needed to get out of the way, that you guys had enough leaders on your team and you didn't need maybe the nitpicking that some other managers do. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's
true.
a good question.
I mean, we had Cocu, Philippe Cocu, and Mbambo as our 2 captains. So I mean, you can't get better than that.
Wow, yeah. I mean, those guys are basically the coaches on the field for sure.
There you go.
During your time with PSV, you played in the 2006 World Cup with me, which I think was probably your highest career achievement.
That was my highlight.
But before that happened, and what I wanted to talk to you about was being on the cover of the ESPN magazine. And I say this because there was a lot of hype around our team. I think we were number 3 in the world at the time, which, I think we could both look at each other and say maybe that's a bit inflated. But given what we had done in qualifying and how we performed in the 2002 World Cup, you in particular, we put ourselves in a position to be considered one of the better teams. And then it didn't go well for us in the 06 World Cup, specifically in that first game against the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
I didn't start that game, and there was a part of me that was like, I could maybe sit this one out because they kicked our ass. What was your takeaway from that? Because since you had lived through 2002 and the elation of that, there must have been even a bigger letdown for you in some capacity in 06 because of just the expectations that you probably had that were, no, let's continue to take steps. We should be getting out of our group every single time.
Yeah, for sure. And, that was, and I even remember speaking to Landon about it. It was going to be, like, our World Cup. We went through the first one as kind of as babies, not really knowing what to expect and just kind of having that no fear attitude and going and playing to, 2006, being, where we kind of step up and, try to, be even more of a leader on the team. It totally went opposite, and, and I don't take anything away from, the Czech Republic team that we played, because they were amazing team, very good team. I think they were second or something like that in the world. Right after that we got them. But yeah, man, just having that pressure and putting that pressure on myself, and obviously from the fans and the media, it was disappointing. I was disappointed in myself. How I performed. I was disappointed. Just with the whole tournament, because I felt that we had a really good team, a lot of some new younger players, and obviously we kept that older leadership group with with Claudio and Johnny O and Eddie and those guys. So and sprinkled the new guys with you and Gooch and some of those guys that came in. I thought we had a very good cohesive group. In that World Cup. So for us to not do as well as we wanted, and I mean, granted, we were in a group of death, but still,
we were.
We had more expectations than that and more confidence in ourselves to get out of that group and to really have a go at it. And for me personally, how I felt, I was disappointed, man. I felt that I underperformed. I underachieved that World Cup. I let the team down because of how I played, especially the first game, and it didn't sit right with me. I didn't have a good feeling after that World Cup.
So I got 2 stories for you on this one. The first one is we're about maybe 15 to 20 minutes in the Ghana game. Okay, at this point we've gone down 1-0. Claudio unfortunately got hurt and gave up a ball. We gave up that goal, and I got Casey Keller behind me who. Not afraid to yell. Let's just say it like that.
Right.
And we have a free kick, and I can sense that you're frustrated. We're all frustrated because we already went down. We gave up a cheap goal, and you wanted me to play it to you quick. And I got Casey saying, "Leave it." And there's this moment where you can kind of see that, or I think you can hear that Casey's yelling at me, but you want me to play it quick. But I can see that Ghana's probably going to pressure you right away, and we're just not set up really well. But I think you just want the ball to make a difference. And I look at you like, what do you want me to do here? And before I even had to say anything, I think this speaks to our relationship a little bit. You said, okay, I got you, man. And you completely because you were hot, and at that moment, I think we both relaxed. Because I remember that moment being in particular where I started to play better. Because the first 15 minutes, I was pretty nervous. Like the Italy game, when I came in as a sub, I didn't have time to think. But I had 5 days to prepare for Ghana, and I was like a nervous wreck. So I remember that moment, and I always appreciated you understanding me in that split second, because I thought it really changed how I enjoyed the rest of the game, even though we didn't win. That's one. So I wanted to thank you for that. I don't think I ever did. Second.
Oh, appreciate it.
Yeah, the second thing, and it's a little thing, right? It's how you treat people out on the field, and how you, when you can sense that one of your teammates needs a little bit of a pick-me-up or an understanding, and it does make a difference. So that's for you and for everybody else that's listening that's in that situation. The second thing is we got absolutely hosed on that penalty kick. That was the worst penalty kick call of all time, and I feel like it was a fix. I just don't understand how, because Gooch is taller than somebody, that is, merits a penalty kick. So I didn't know. I wish I could roll that clip, because it's the worst penalty I've ever seen.
Can we roll the clip?
I wish we could, dude. It's so bad. It's just a size difference. Ball goes up. Gooch kind of leans over a small guy. Small guy falls.
Yeah,
they call the penalty a minute before halftime.
Yeah.
And I remember being in the locker room at that time, and nobody knew what to say, because we had some momentum. You did a really good job of winning the ball in midfield and playing it across for Clint. Tied it up 1-1. We were feeling great about ourselves, and then we give up that crappy penalty. It's just crazy to me how thin that line is, I guess, between success and failure at the highest levels, because you guys needed a little bit of luck with South Korea scoring against Portugal in 2002. You got it. Played a familiar opponent against Mexico, and then played great against Germany and got unlucky there. And we just didn't have that luck in 2006. And I just think it's, even though we did get, I mean, you're pretty hard on yourself. I thought you did okay in the 2006 World Cup, and nothing to be that hard on yourself about. But it's just, it's intense. And then in 2010, things did go a little bit more in our favor, and we won the group, getting that last second thing with Algeria. And yeah, I'm like, man, the World Cup I was in, it was tough luck.
Where's the luck at?
Where's the luck?
Where's the luck
anyway, I just wanted to talk about that. I just thought we got hosed a little bit in that, and
we 100% did. We 100% did. I mean, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to just say, just from the Ghana game, I remember, there was a part in the game that we were basically under the gun. Saying they were moving the ball and they were playing this and that, blah blah blah, and I almost felt like it was like, man, this is it. This is gonna be like this is gonna be how we're perceived. You think about things on the field when you're playing. When things aren't going well, you're like, right. We're under the gun. You get tired because you're running. You don't have the ball, and then when you do get the ball, you might lose it because you're tired. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, I just think the Ghana game was I'll say I think we played well against Italy, but for me, it was a show of character. You know what I'm saying? Because we could have just stopped playing, gave up, and just kind of like, okay, we're already out of the tournament. We're down 2-1. They got the ball more so than we do, and we're not really getting anything out of it. So we can just kind of like say, whatever. But for me, I think that part, obviously I don't want to say, everything was terrible in 2006. But I just thought the character of the team that showed in that game was pretty high level.
I appreciate you saying that. It was. Obviously, it was a career peak for me, and you did it 4 times. So I have a big question for you. I know I've pretty much gone over the allotted time with you, and I'm just going to keep pushing.
Go ahead,
I love talking with you.
Yeah.
No, but I want to go through this because you loaned to Man City, and then from Man City you went to Rangers, correct?
Yep, went to Rangers.
Okay, and then I'm showing a nice photo of you there. Really quick on this in particular, how was playing in the Old Firm derby?
Oh man, it's something that it's something that you can't. What people say, you can't explain it. You have to experience it, either as a player or a fan. It's hard to explain the noise. Like it's the Ranger Stadium is like 50,000. And then obviously in Celtic's a little bit bigger.
Right.
It's like about 63,000, whatever. And and they're full every game. Every game they're full, both stadiums. But you when you play Rangers against say St. Mirren, it's 50,000 people, but it's they cheer, it's quiet, not quiet,
sure.
They cheer, it's loud. But for Celtic, man, I mean, you cannot hear a thing. It's like literally you're playing in front of 100,000 people in Azteca, and the atmosphere is so overwhelming.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because the fans, they want it more. I think they probably want it more than the players do. You know, the players, it's just, you know, obviously at the end of the day, it's a game. We want to win.
Right,
obviously,
right.
you know, it's bragging rights. You know, it's a game. But at the end of the day, you know, it's just a game. But for fans, it's a whole different story.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So the noise and the amount of, you know, chaos that goes on, you know, even before the game starts, it's unreal. It's unreal. I mean, when you especially at Ibrox, you know, when you're about to step out for warm-ups, the whole stadium's full.
Mm-hmm.
Whole stadium's full. And they're already singing. They're already chanting. They're already going against, you know, the Celtic fans and singing and chanting and saying we're the best. They're saying this and that. So leading up, you know, even before, you know, the ref blows a whistle to start the game, I mean, you already can feel the energy, you know what I'm saying? So you get up for those type of games. And I remember my first one, I came on as a sub, you know, but I just remember coming on, you know, just warming up before. And I mean, it was so loud. And it was, you know, it was only 50,000 people, you know, and it was just crazy the amount of, like I said, chaos that goes on, you know, 2 weeks before that game played, during the game, and then after the game, because it obviously depends on who wins.
Right, right. No, I remember we had a friendly. I think you played. It was U.S. versus Scotland at Hampton Park.
Yeah, Scotland, yep.
Yeah,
yep.
yeah. And I didn't start, but at halftime I stayed out there to kick the ball around or whatever, and they sang the whole halftime. And I remember thinking how special this was, just to be out there and to absorb it from the middle of the field. So I can only imagine what it was like, you know, playing in the old firm. Now, you also got to play in PSV versus Ajax, I assume is a big one. U.S. Mexico. I mean, you've got some big derbies under your belt.
Yeah, Man U, Man City. That was.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, how was that one?
Yeah, that was great, man. That was great. Obviously, and you know what? Funny story. And I put this on my Twitter the other day because someone brought it up, and I haven't never told the story. But my first ever game for Man City, I just has just signed my contract because I signed on like what's it called, the deadline day, or you know what they call that?
Deadline day,
you know? Yeah, deadline day. Yeah, so I signed on deadline day to go to City, and I think it might have been like during the week, and I was literally, I think I signed on maybe like I say a Tuesday, and I was playing that Saturday. I didn't start, and then Hatem Trabelsi gets injured, you know, and this is my first game, and me thinking, you know, I was oblivious to obviously Man U, Man City, blue and red. My ass, I had on red shoes. So, you know, City's blue and Man U is red. Right? This is my introduction, Jimmy. I kid you not.
Wait, somebody couldn't have told you that. Somebody couldn't have told you beforehand that you should.
No one, not even the kit man. Not, you know, the kit man's been there for I don't know how long. You know, so he knows the rivalry between Man City and Man United, red and blue. The colors mean something to fans, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't know that, you know, because PSV, you know, you don't really have that color war. You know, Rangers, you have it. And obviously in England, you have it. But in PSV, we didn't have it. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't know. So my first game, I come on like in the 30th minute. So my introduction, they hold up my number. And obviously Hatem comes off and they boo me. My own fans boo me. Jimmy, I bullshit you not. My first introduction as a City player, my first game in the Premier League, and my own fans boo me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, and I'm thinking, cause you know, obviously, you know, you're capturing the game. I run on the field, and I'm like, why are they booing me? Why are they booing me? And then, so anyway, long story short, I don't want to, you know, keep going, but long story short, they were singing, but I couldn't understand them. Obviously, I couldn't understand what they were saying. So I get into halftime, you know, 20 minutes later, and I'm like, yo, why in the hell did it's like, Bees, you got to take off your shoes. I'm like, why? It's like, you wearing, we're City, we're blue. We're you know, Man United is red. And I'm like, yo, y'all couldn't tell me that before. I got on, like, you see me putting on my shoes, going out, you know, to play or going out, you know, to sit on the bench. No one couldn't tell me that, you know, I need to wear it. So I ended up changing my shoes at halftime. Thankfully, I had another pair of boots with me. So I changed my boots, and then when I came on, they all clapped. So they all gave me the sign. So it was fun. That was my first introduction at in the Premier League. I got booed, my own fans.
How was that experience? How was that? I mean, that was pre like Man City oil money, you know, so it wasn't as successful, or they didn't have as many, let's say, I don't know, the financial means to be as successful so quickly. How was the experience of being with Man City and then also playing in the Premier League?
Yeah, it was great, man. I loved my time in Premier League. I loved City. You know, the club. The club was so, welcoming and nice. The people around the club. I mean, from the like I said, from the kit men, the front office people, the cooks, the cleaners, everyone was so welcoming and so nice. And like it really felt like a family club at that club when I was there. It was great, man. I had a really, really good experience, playing in the Premier League. And I had fun. The games were fast. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you don't even, as a midfielder, because I played left midfield back then.
Right.
I sometimes, because back then we weren't a pass team, so we were, we had to play long ball a lot, and I wouldn't even touch the ball, so I'd just be literally running back and forth. You know what I'm saying? So, but no, I mean the experience was great, man. I loved it. My teammates were cool. I had a good time, man. I felt that that was probably the most fun league I played in, I would say.
Interesting. That's
because at PSV, it was the club. Obviously, it's one of the three, big clubs in Holland. But the games would be, sometimes be boring. You know what I'm saying? Because they literally you can't lose the ball. Like sometimes, like you even pass the ball backwards to the keeper like 20 times, it's okay. It's okay. Like as long as you keep the ball slow until you have to wait until you get a good moment, you get one-on-one, and then you can do your thing, or you make good passes through the lines and this and that. But it's patience. It's patience, breaking the teams down, passing the ball, go backwards, passing the ball here, passing the ball. So we had the ball, 70% of the time. And I was a winger, so I'm just standing there waiting for the midfielders, like, yo, give me the ball. Let me like I would even get bored in the game sometimes because we just pass and pass and pass and pass and pass. So, it was great that we had a good team and this and that. But I think as far as like the fun factor, the fun part of it, yeah, I would say the Premier League for sure.
Okay, so you then left after Rangers because Premier League was first before going to Scotland. You then went to Hanover, where the mayor, Steve Cherundolo, our teammate on the national team, was vice captain. How was that in the Bundesliga? Because I know you didn't have too many games there, but it's another country, it's another new style, new philosophy, another new language. What happens there, and why didn't the stint last very long?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to leave after 6 months. I tried German, that didn't work. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, I felt that I still knew my Dutch a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So I thought it'd be easier. I thought it would be easy to actually learn German. You know what I'm saying? Because I always, whenever I went to a new country, I always wanted to embrace myself in the culture. Learn the language, be able to communicate, not just in English. Make my teammates speak English, but I want to speak to them, in their native language, in German or in Dutch, or and obviously when I went to Mexico, speak Spanish. So I wanted to always. That's how I am. I always wanted to learn and be open minded about those kind of things. But yeah, when I went to Germany, I literally took a picture, with the general manager with my jersey. I signed a contract, and that was my stint in German football. But no, the atmospheres in Germany were amazing. Every stadium was full. Every stadium is 30 to 60,000 people, but they're all full. They're all singing. That part was amazing. And every team was a decent side. You know what I'm saying? So whenever it didn't matter who you played against. Obviously, with Munich and Dortmund were the bigger teams. But when you played, anyone, from Schalke to Hamburg to all these different teams, Leverkusen, it was good football. You was gonna get a good game. You know what I'm saying? And that part I like. Even seeing from the bench, that part I enjoyed. Because every team was good. Every team played good, honest football. Every team tried to play. So that part of the German. The Bundesliga, I enjoyed, but yeah, I didn't play. I never started a game. I had 4 appearances as a sub, and I mean that's basically it. I didn't. So
it wasn't a good fit.
No, not at all. Didn't do enough to play. I didn't show enough to play, and that was it. So I wanted to leave, and after 6 months. And it's kind of what I was talking about before about a coach telling you and being honest, and being real and being, just telling you just like it is, And I told him I went to his office and my agent and said, I'm not playing. You're not going to play me. So we want to go. He's like, oh, no, we want to keep you. we're gonna, we're gonna play you. We don't want you to leave. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then he doesn't play me for another 4 months. So, it is what it is. I mean, but I look at myself and I felt that I didn't do enough.
Right.
So I put it in his hands to pick me. Instead of putting more into my training, putting more into, the emphasis of trying to get on the field, I didn't do enough. So for me, it's more personal, not, that the coach didn't pick me or the coach didn't like me.
Yeah,
So.
no, I felt the same way ahead of the 2010 World Cup, where I left it in Bob's hands, Bob Bradley, as opposed to really making it so clear that I needed to be the guy. And I just was
exactly
kind of caught up in other stuff that was wasting my energy, and that's a bigger conversation. We don't need to get into that. So anyway, I feel like I need a proper therapist for that part of my life. But I will.
Me too.
So you say peace out to Germany. You come back to North America, go down to Mexico. I assume you had some opportunities to go back to MLS, but you elected to go down south and play for Puebla, and that seemed like a great experience for you.
Yeah, man. I mean, do you want me to touch on my experience trying to go back to the MLS?
Yeah, sure. I mean, because it's complicated. You know what I mean? Anytime you try to get back in the league from Europe, I assume there's a lot of complications.
Yeah. So I mean, I tried. I mean, for me, I don't think it was complicated. I don't think so. This is my personal opinion.
Right.
But yeah, when I, of course, Germany, and at that time, I was kind of fed up with Europe. You know what I'm saying? I was kind of fed up. I was like, okay, I want to move back, closer, to my family, to my friends. And, I was kind of over Europe, so I was like, hey, let's see what MLS is, what they're thinking. Would they want me to come back? Would they, all this kind of stuff. You know how those conversations go. And so, and I'll never forget, and I'm coming from the Bundesliga, and at first they're like, we don't really have any interest at the moment. This is after, oh no, serious, Jimmy, this is 100% honesty. And they're like, oh yeah, we don't really have any interest, in DaMarcus, right now, he didn't really play. And, so obviously, using my Bundesliga experience, he didn't really play, this and that.
Wait, what year was this?
2010. It's after the World Cup.
Okay, after the World Cup. Yeah.
Yeah. And he didn't play, obviously, look at the World Cup, he only played one game, so right now there's no interest in, to bring back DaMarcus Beasley. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay, that's interesting, and Lyle Yorst was my agent at the time. And I told him, I was like, Lyle, I really want to go back, just, keep pushing. So he's like, okay, obviously he's going to do what his client wants. And so he came back with an offer, Jimmy. And like, he's like, he was embarrassed to even send it to me. And I'll never forget this. He's like, Bees, as your agent, he's like, I have to show you, I have to, tell you what they offer. But I was like, he's like, Bees, if you take this, and he's like, I don't even want to show you. I was like, don't take this, don't do it. Jimmy, they offered me $107,000 before taxes.
Wait, $107,000?
Yeah, it was like 110, 107, 100. It's like in that, $108,000. That's what they offered me. Coming from the Bundesliga now.
That's
coming off
a World Cup.
Coming off of 3 World Cups, yes.
That's so disrespectful, dude.
Thank you. Excuse my friends, but I bullshit you not. They offered me $108,000 or something like that. And I was saying, are you sick? I was like, man, that's when I was like, man, I had no love for MLS. I was like, forget it, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I still wanted to come back in Mexico. That kind of call came about, through you still laughing about the $108,000. Hey, true story, yo.
Dude.
True. That's 100% honesty. They offered me $108,000 or whatever it was before taxes, and that was it. And then it wasn't even like a team wanted me. Just like, oh yeah, we'll just basically allocate somewhere. There was no, Bees, where do you want to go, or where do you see yourself playing, or this team maybe has a little bit of interest, or would you mind going there? No, it was just $108,000, and we'll try to put you somewhere.
Oh, it hurts. I mean, it must hurt when you see that, like Josie and Michael Bradley were in the same position not a couple of years later and getting like $6 million to come back.
$6 million, and they offered me $108,000. I'm telling you, man, I can't make this up. I can't make this up. I'm telling you. That's what it was, yo.
So you had to go to Mexico at that point.
Yeah, I had to go to Mexico, and it was I had to do something. Because I mean, I didn't want to stay in Europe. I mean, yeah, I had offers, to go back to Scotland. I had offers in Scandinavia, like in Norway and Sweden. And I didn't want it. Denmark. There was one team in Denmark, a big club in Denmark, but I didn't really want to do that. I didn't want to go that route. I kind of wanted to go closer to home, and and then obviously, Puebla. Not even Puebla. Pachuca came about, opportunity there, and I took it with both hands, and I went there for a couple of days, met the owner, trained with the team, for 2 days. We already had the contract, pre-approved before, and then so I started at Pachuca first, and. Yeah, and so I went there for a couple of days to meet the team, meet the owner, train with the team, and then after that, he says, "Oh yeah, we don't have international spot open." So I'm like, so what? I'm like, what the hell is going on here? So like, you bring me here, we already have a pre-approved contract. You know what I'm saying? You want me to sign? Okay, cool, but you don't even have an open spot for me. So this is what they said. They said, okay, well, all you have to do. Because, in Mexico, they have 2 seasons, what I'm saying? Right.
Apertura and Clausura, yeah.
Exactly. And so it's like, this is what we're going to do. So this season, this half season, whatever, you're going to play with the second team. And then this is what they told me. Then we're going to obviously, get rid of or, open 2 international spots for you. And then, by next season, you can play. And I'm like, nah. I was like, I'm not playing, in the second division in Mexico. I was like, you got to be kidding me. So then, literally, we were still Lyle and I were still in Mexico, and we got a call from Puebla. And they said, and I didn't know anything about Puebla. And the thing about Pachuca was, they had, that's when, JT was there, Jose Torres.
Yeah, right.
Jose there, Michael Orozco, he was there. He was down there as well. So, I mean, I had, Americans there. Because I never knew how I was going to get, received in Mexico because of, the rivalry between America and Mexico on the soccer field. So I never knew. So it was good that I had those guys there when I trained for those couple of days. And then, Puebla called and it's like, hey, would you want to come play for us? And I'm like, well, okay. I'm like, so we went down. It's a short drive from Pachuca to Puebla. Went down, saw the city, met, same kind of scenario. Met the owner, met the coach, and but the thing what got me. The coach really wanted me. Okay. Like when I spoke to the coach, it wasn't that, oh, well, this kid's, not this kid. DaMarcus Beasley is available. Let's just see how he does. Like when I talked to the coach, he wanted me. Like he was so happy that I didn't sign with Pachuca. He's like, yeah, I heard about, you're coming to Pachuca and we tried to contact you, but it didn't work. So like, I'm happy this worked out. It worked out in our favor because I want you to be on this team, how he coached, how he played, this and that, and since then, when I was there, I didn't look back, and my career just kind of went from like this to, like that.
Yeah, so it was a really important time for you. Is that at the time where you started to move from being like a winger and a midfielder back to being more of an outside back? When did that transition start for you?
It started actually when I went back into the national team with Jurgen.
Okay.
Because I wasn't getting called in and when I first started in Mexico, and this is when Jurgen was coaching, right. And I was still a winger, I was playing well, still scoring goals and trying to get assists and doing good things on the field. And when Jurgen first brought me in, he brought me in as a midfielder. Mm-hmm. So I was coming in. I might have started a couple games. I came in. I can't remember, in the beginning of what happened. But sometimes in Mexico we would play, obviously 5 in the back. Right. And sometimes I would be that, what do you call it?
The wing back.
The wing back, yeah, wing back. I would be the wing back sometimes. But I never played, as a left back in a 4.
Right.
The first time that I ever played left back in a 4. Well, I mean, I did sometime with Bob. We had one experience with playing against Trinidad with on the national team, but I was just in a pinch.
Right.
But Jurgen, it was the Costa Rica game, the snow game. That was the first time I played left back as in a 4, like a real left back. It was that game, and he told me before, he's like, hey, I see you playing, wing back. Do you think you can play left back? And I was like, yeah. I think I can, and he's like, okay, well, I think Los was injured. Who else? Somebody else was injured that was playing left back at that time. I can't remember who it was, but they had like two guys that were injured, and I wasn't getting really called in at that time. And then he just called me out of the blue and said, "Hey, we need you to play left back." And I'm like, okay. And then so that snow game, the infamous snow game in Denver, was my first coming out, and then left back. And then so I get back to Mexico, and it's like, oh, so you can play left back. Huh? Wow. You did all right in that game. So hey, how about we just try this? How about we start, putting you back? And I'm like, no. I was like, yo, that was one game. I still want to play, I still want to be in midfield. I still want to, go up and whatever. And then at that time, we actually had a coach. When I went back to Mexico, we had a coach that always played 5 in the back. Always. So then it was basically like I was playing, but we played more defensive. So so it made it look like I was basically playing left back. You know what I'm saying? Because we weren't like the Atlanta team. You know what I'm saying? They play 5 in the back with what's his name, Tata, Martino, and they attacked. They were going forward. Right. They were their wing backs were going up the field and blah blah blah. That's not how that coach at that time was coaching. We had to sit back and absorb the pressure, and so it kind of looked like I was playing left back anyway. So that's kind of how it started.
Okay, so my question for you is. And I dealt with this a little bit on my own with regard to coming out of the World Cup that I played in. Thought I held my own against the best in the world. Kind of got to prove everybody wrong. And I thought I deserved a better contract, which I ended up getting. I got some interest from Hanover, in particular, one club, and a couple Premier League teams.
Nice.
Ultimately used that as leverage to get a better deal in MLS just due to some other stuff that was going on in my life off the field. And it was just a better time for me to stay home. And But then I started getting into the entitlement, let's say, of, oh, I deserve this, I deserve that, or look what I've accomplished. Yeah. I should be an automatic starter under Bob. Me and Gooch kind of held it down, and Carlos can still play left back or whatever. And it wasn't really working out that way, and I started to get frustrated in a way that I never had before because I didn't know how to handle that success. And so I guess I asked this and kind of give some of my own story because you coming off of 3 World Cups, you playing all over the world, improving yourself at a high level. Then having to have MLS disrespect you, there's no other way to say it, and then they're asking you to play in the second division for Pachuca. I mean, how do you handle that? Because mentally, that would be a really difficult thing, I think, to wrap your head around and be like, I've worked so hard, I feel like I deserve better, but yet you still found a way to fight and climb and get out of it. So I respect, I have so much respect for you for how you fought to get back out of it and then get back into the national team and then play in another World Cup. Yeah. It's amazing. But at that time, in that moment of time, how were you grappling with that and not allowing it to necessarily dent your confidence so that you couldn't go out there and perform?
Yeah, man. And you basically just said it with the last word was confidence. I always kept my self-confidence in myself. Because I would, and I remember even in Germany when I was training, I would see glimpses of the old bees. You know what I'm saying? Like how I was playing, even my teammates, man, today, or this week, you are amazing. Like, you should be playing or you should be doing this, but you got to do it on a consistent basis, Right. So I was going like that, I was up and down in training and this and that. So anyway, but I never lost the confidence in myself, So for me, my personal experience, so with my confidence and always having that kind of chip on my shoulder back when I was a kid with my brother, always wanted to prove that I can, play at this level or prove to this person or prove to that person. Because I wasn't, like I said, I was never an outspoken person. You didn't hear me in the media saying, oh, like no one knows about this story. You know what I'm saying? I didn't go in the media and talk about, oh, they disrespected me. They didn't do this. They didn't give me this, or, this broadcaster said this about my game the other day. He can go and whatever. This is my favorite part. This is my favorite part about guys retiring though, because then you get the real stories after they don't care anymore. Yeah. This is me. Like I was always about proving myself on the field. And so I never lost that confidence in myself. And I told myself after Germany, and I told myself, I was like, okay, this is it. Like you need to, step up and get back to the level that you can play. And that was just me mentally saying that to myself. No, doing, dumb stuff. No, stop going out. Concentrate more on what you're doing. Concentrate more on, your game and what you need to do to perform every single day. And as far as resting, eating, everything. You know what I'm saying? I literally, after Germany and obviously after the World Cup as well, because I only played one game. You know what I'm saying? So I was kind of going on that spiral like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, didn't play in Germany. Didn't play in the World Cup. Only played one game. Then went to Germany, didn't play at all. Had 4 appearances, and so it's like, you know, it's like, okay, you need to look at yourself. It's crunch time. You know, you're gonna just, you know, kind of let your career just kind of, you know, keep going down, or you're gonna, you know, do something to save it. And that's what I did. You know, so I really buckled down on what I needed to do mentally and physically to get myself prepared to never, like we talked about earlier, never have a coach, never put the what do you call it?
Yeah, I lost my train of thought too at the same time.
You know, never put it in his hands.
Right.
You know, you're always gonna, you know what I'm saying? Like, never make sure that he doesn't have a reason to keep you off the field. You know what I'm saying? And to that day, I from Mexico to when I went to Houston and with the national team, you know, and I was barely injured. You know, I started for every coach that I played for. And I just kept, you know, going. So for me, it was what I need to do for myself, you know, not so much what people can do for me or what people haven't been doing or making excuses. For me, I had to look deep inside myself and say, hey, you know, this has to stop. You got to really, you know, start performing like you know how to perform. And for me, it was that self-confidence that I always had, that if I get in a good opportunity to show that I can still play this level, I'm not going to let it pass. And thank God it was Mexico, and, you know, everything went well.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I think a lot of people in the chat are saying it as well, you should write a book. You ever going to consider writing a book?
I'm trying. Yeah, I've reached out. You know, I've reached out to a couple people to maybe to do that. You know, I would like to at some point. I think I have a lot of stories, untold
There's
stories,
no
some
question.
funny stories,
Yeah.
some crazy stories, especially in Mexico. Oh man, I can write a book just about Mexico.
So when Tim Howard's getting his own documentary or getting his own movie about his life on. Like, when is it DaMarcus's turn?
I hope after his.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. And then another question for you, and then we're going to get to loan, sign, and sell, which I kind of prepped you for, so you have somewhat of an idea what's coming. But every time people talk about the best male players that this country's ever produced, it always seems like it's a Landon versus Clint Dempsey type of thing. And to speak about, I just don't understand why you're not part of the conversation, given everything that you've accomplished and that you've proven yourself over in Europe, which Landon didn't really ultimately do. Clint did, of course, but you played in 4 World Cups. You've played under so many different coaches that value you in so many different ways. Does that bother you at all, or do you feel like those are the 2 guys that we should be considering?
No, it doesn't bother me. You know,
No.
And like I said, I don't think I am the best U.S. soccer player that's ever played. You know, I'm not even in my own top 3.
Okay, who's in your top 3 then? Who's in your top 3?
I mean, those 2 and Claudio.
Okay,
you know,
yeah, Claudio's so good.
Claudio was oh man, like, I wish Claudio was playing in these times. How smooth he was on the ball, how he made things happen so effortlessly. You know, that word, I can't say it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was the player he was, and I got to play with him at City, you know, when he was older. So I even got to play with him on the club team and see, you know, just basically see how he is every day. You know, obviously he was a family man, and, you know, they live kind of, you know, out in the country when he was at City. But yeah, I mean, just to have that experience with Claudio and to see him in training every day and seeing other people, you know, see what I saw. You know, because we all see it. Because, you know, Claudio, his skill level was above everybody else's. You know, but then when you go, you know, to the Premier League and you go to City, you see what other people say and his teammates and, you know, our teammates, I should say about Claudio. I mean, he was a level above. So those are my top 3: Landon, Clint, and Claudio.
Okay, well, we have evidence of what Claudio could look like for people that don't know, because his son Gio Reyna is coming through Borussia Dortmund. I assume you see some similarities in his game because he's cool and calm and has a really good IQ for his decision making and all that good stuff. But then we have Pulisic with Tyler Adams. I'm a big fan of Tyler Adams. Weston McKennie's doing things at Schalke. Who's maybe the one player that excites you the most about who's coming up?
I mean, for me, Christian. You know, I think he's a difference maker. He's a game winner. You know, I think once that, you know, the U.S. team, they figure out exactly how they want to use him, and they, you know, have more experience, playing at that level. I think, he's gonna blossom even more.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, those names you just said, they're all great players already.
Yeah.
At such a young age, playing in the Bundesliga, starting every game, being an important player on those teams as well. That's an important thing. Not just kind of somewhat being a squad player, but actually playing tough, important games for the club, and having the coach really depend on Weston and Tyler. That's pretty big for a young player. And I like Gio. I've seen him play a couple times, and I heard about Gio even before he went over to
Yeah,
Belgium.
of course.
People were raving about him when he was in the US, and they said obviously how good he was, and he can maybe even be better than his dad and this and that. So yeah, he's a good young player as well, and I'm looking forward to all these players, man.
You and me both, Bees. But what I'm gonna say is that you were better than those guys. That's all I'm gonna say. I'll say it for you because I know it to be true.
It.
Yeah, no, you were legit. All right, let's get into one thing before we let you go. It's called Loan, Sign, and Sell. Here's a quick intro. Sign, sell for you. Now you got to speak at it from who you want to play for. Like, who would you want to sign for? Who would you want to get loaned to, and who would you want to sell you because you just can't play for him anymore? And here are your three options. You got your three national team coaches: Bruce Arena, Jurgen Klinsmann, Bob Bradley. Who would you want to go out to on loan as a manager? Let's just start there.
Go out on loan. Oh man, this is crazy. Because I mean, they're all. Okay, let me give it a little bit about.
Here we go. Here come the excuses already.
Not excuses, man. I got to. For me, they've all helped me in some way throughout my career. Obviously, you know what I'm saying.
Right.
And obviously, Jurgen, he kind of brought me back into the national team when I wasn't playing, and obviously I went and played another World Cup. So he kind of helped me on that aspect. And obviously Bob, he's a guy that wanted me in Chicago, and then we had some times with the national team as well. And he was the one that was kind of pushing Bruce to even call me in. Bruce was, at the beginning saying, he wasn't ready because Landon was getting called in.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was kind of pushing Bruce to, he's like, this kid's ready, just have him in camp, whatever. And then obviously, yeah, Bruce, he's the one that started me with the national team, I remember him saying some great comments, especially in those 04, 05 days, about me as a player, and saying how important I was on the team, things like that,
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard, man, to pick one. Well, it's actually hard to sell one.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of.
So
we're just going by just coaching, right? Just coaching.
It's just like, yeah. Who would you want to like? If you could sign for one of them, who would you want to sign with? Who was going to be your manager? And then if you could get loaned to him, obviously you're not there for very long, but you could learn from that person. And then basically sell is, you probably learned something, but you're ready to go. Like it's you at Hanover. Like you're just done. You can't do it anymore. So yeah, those are your options. I'm putting you on the spot. That's the whole point of the game.
I see that. So I would say I would want to play for Bob.
Okay.
Because I like
sign with Bob.
His style. Yeah.
All right.
I would sign with Bob. This is a tough one. Oh man.
Just as a reminder, the internet is forever.
Yeah, I know. I would sign with Bob. I would get loaned. People will be like, "What are you talking about?" I'll get loaned to. Man, you put me on the spot, man. I'm like, goodness gracious. Let's see.
It's all right. You know what? I'm gonna say. I'm gonna save you. I'll save you. You're good.
I'll say this. No. I'll get loaned to Bruce, and I gotta sell Jurgen.
I mean, you clearly saw what he did at Hertha Berlin or didn't do at Hertha Berlin, so I respect that choice.
But at the same time, like, I only say that, and I gotta say one more thing. I gotta say one more thing. I love Jurgen. There's nothing to reflect on that part. But I took mine on the lesser amount of time I was with Jurgen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's the reason why I would say I would sell Jurgen. It wasn't because of, as a coach, as a coach, just coaching,
right.
I would sell Jurgen. You know, I he's a great man manager. You know,
right.
I thought he, you know, was doing great things for U.S. soccer and trying to, you know, challenge the, you know, players, challenge the coaches, challenge the age groups. I thought that part was great. You know what I'm saying? But as far as like, you know, tactics and A's and B's and, you know, we want you to do this and how this and that. That was a little bit.
I heard that about him, and that disappointed me given Jurgen's playing experience and all the coaches that he had played for. I mean,
because he basically wanted you, you know, to be free and be like, you know, just go out there and express yourself. And, you know, as players, there you go.
You still need team shape, though. Yeah, you still need some team shape and some parameters to play.
I can kind of go and be free and play, and you know, so he gave you that confidence that you know, do what you got to do your thing, go out there and play. It's beautiful. Football is beautiful. Go play. That's basically what it was.
Yeah, which isn't coaching, but you're right. It's decent managing.
So coaching, that part was a little bit down. So yeah, so I'll have to say sell Jurgen.
Okay. Well, DaMarcus, thank you for being honest and for all of your time and for your great stories. I also want to make sure that everybody goes and checks him out. The Crack Podcast, go subscribe now. He's doing his own thing, hosting his own show, so he knows what this feels like to be on this side of things.
Yeah, man, appreciate it.
And good luck with the USL stuff and anything else that you're doing post-career. And hopefully you can come back on and share some more stories, specifically from Mexico, because I feel like that's an area we definitely need to dive into.
For sure.
So, Bees, thank you so much for your time, man.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it, Jimmy.
All
Good
right.
talking to you, bro.
All right, you too.
All right, man.
Talk to you
care.
soon. All right. DaMarcus Beasley, everybody. Wow, that was awesome. Listen, I can't say enough about DaMarcus. He was only slated to come on for 30 minutes, and the dude is like 75 minutes in, regaling us with stories about the Old Firm and Manchester United, Man City derbies. And, dude, what an absolute legend. So please, again, I can't emphasize enough, go support him. Go follow him on social media. I put up his social media stuff. We can also put it in the chat. Go support his podcast, The Crack Podcast. For me, one of the best players we've ever developed in this country. I appreciate his humility, but he was the goods. He could play, and it was a big thrill for me to be on his team. I had watched him play in the 2002 World Cup. I watched all those guys. So then when I got to play in 2006, I mean, I was in 2002. That was the games were on like 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning here, and I was in my PJs, you know, eating ice cream, feeling sorry for myself that I wasn't good enough to play for the thing. And then 4 years later, I was on the field with those guys. So I don't know if you can imagine it, but it's a big thrill for me to be associated with those types of players and some of the best we've ever produced. And to be friends with those guys is a really big deal for me. So I can't thank him enough for coming on and just sharing his life story, how hard he's worked. I think the part where he basically got told in some ways that he wasn't good enough so many different times, but yet still found a way to have success and to play in 4 World Cups really is a testament to what he's about, not only on the field, but what's inside and his character as a person. So I love you, DaMarcus Beasley, and I hope that everybody else does after watching this. All right, we're going to go to halftime, but when we return, we got a lot of stuff to talk about, so don't go anywhere, everyone. And, you guys know what's coming. Orange Slice time.